Congratulations to Speaker Mike Johnson for receiving an unprecedented vote of confidence in Congress. Mike will be a great speaker.
And hello from Fox News in Washington. A look at the headlines. Millions of Americans are dealing with a major winter storm moving across the Midwest right now along the Interstate 70 corridor. It's heading for the mid-Atlantic states, bringing heavy snow and blistering cold temperatures overnight tonight. Several states have declared states of emergency. Here in Washington, Congress says it will still convene despite the storm. The congressional joint session will count the 2024 presidential electoral votes, and then Vice President Kamala Harris will certify her own loss to Donald Trump. Congress tightened and clarified the rules for that procedure after the events of January 6, 2021. While that's going on, President Biden and the First Lady will visit New Orleans 4 days after an ISIS-inspired terrorist plowed a rented truck into pedestrians early on New Year's Day, killing 14 and injuring dozens more. In a moment, we'll get reaction from Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy, but first we have team coverage with Nate Foy covering the Trump transition from West Palm Beach and Lucas Tomlinson covering the White House response to the terror attack. Lucas, let's start with you.
Jackie, President Biden and the First Lady will travel down to New Orleans tomorrow. In his 15 days remaining in office, Biden has pledged to keep up pressure on terrorist groups.
We're going to continue to relentlessly pursue ISIS and other terrorist organizations where they are, and they'll find no safe harbor here.
After the ISIS-inspired rampage on Bourbon Street that killed 14 people and wounded dozens more, critics say Biden for years downplayed the threat posed by Islamic terrorism.
According to the intelligence community,
For years, they're still
terrorism from white supremacy is the most lethal threat to the homeland today. Not ISIS, not Al-Qaeda, white supremacists.
Poison has for too long haunted this nation. What is that poison? White supremacy throughout our history has ripped this nation apart.
It's not clear if Biden has changed his mind.
Thank you, everybody.
Hours into the new year, the FBI says 42-year-old U.S. Army veteran Shamsuddin Jabbar plowed his rented pickup truck with an ISIS flag attached through Bourbon Street before being shot by police. Prior to the massacre, Jabbar placed 2 bombs in ice chests along the route. On his way to New Orleans from Houston, where he lived, Jabbar recorded a message to his family saying he joined ISIS earlier this year. He divorced for the 3rd time in 2022. Louisiana's Attorney General says New Orleans must bolster security before hosting the Super Bowl next month.
The city is going to have to be answering a lot of hard questions while it also gets ready for a Super Bowl.
Security has been beefed up around the White House ahead of Jimmy Carter's state funeral and President-elect Trump's inauguration. Second layer of fencing has just been added to Pennsylvania Avenue this weekend. Jackie.
Lucas Tomlinson at the White House. Thank you, Lucas. Now to West Palm Beach and Nate Foy covering the Trump transition. Nate.
Hey, Jackie. President-elect Donald Trump hosted Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni at Mar-a-Lago last night alongside his pick for Secretary of State, Senator Marco Rubio. And with just over 2 weeks until Inauguration Day, the president-elect is already working to ensure the leadership apparatus that he wants is in place in Washington, D.C., and ready to implement his agenda.
In coordination with President Trump and his administration, we are going to create a leaner, faster, and more efficient federal workforce.
House Speaker Mike Johnson won re-election Friday after President-elect Donald Trump made phone calls on his behalf while golfing in West Palm Beach.
President Trump was hitting a 5-iron about the time we talked. We had a very good discussion about how to advance the Trump agenda.
Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "Mike will be a great speaker, and our country will be the beneficiary." Trump warns of looming Democratic attempts to block his cabinet picks. Defense Secretary nominee Pete Hegseth will face the Senate Armed Services Committee on January 14th.
Sorry about that. I was cooking.
Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard,
she's a
will meet
he,
tomorrow with
but
Senator
that's
Mark
okay.
Warner,
You didn't know.
the top Democrat on the Senate
My grandmother
Intelligence
still
Committee.
calls him a she, even though his name is Derek. And know very many she's named there.
Incoming
Scroll
National
coming back.
Security
I gotta go feed
Advisor
'em.
Mike Waltz says it's important to get Trump's cabinet picks confirmed, calling the presidential transition a moment of vulnerability.
They're like they're nuts.
The terror attack in New Orleans raises additional concerns. Trump blames President Joe Biden for
outside?
rising radical Islamic terrorism and violent crime in the country.
No?
In New York, Judge Juan Merchan indicates Trump will avoid prison time at his upcoming sentencing on Friday. Trump disputed his criminal conviction on Truth Social, writing, quote, "I never falsified business records. It is a fake, made-up charge by a corrupt judge." Trump can attend his sentencing virtually or in person. He has not said which one he will pick quite yet. His team is looking forward to what they're calling a victory rally at Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C., which holds 20,000 people. It's going to happen on the eve of the inauguration on January 19th. The next day, Trump will be sworn into the White House for a second term. Jackie?
All right, Nate Foy reporting from West Palm Beach. Thank you, Nate. Joining us now is Louisiana Senator Bill Cassidy. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Senator, the FBI, DHS, and National Counterterrorism Center warned of potential copycat attacks after what we saw in New Orleans. There are several large-scale events coming up, from the Super Bowl in New Orleans to inauguration in D.C. Is enough being done to prevent something like this from happening again?
Hell no.
I can promise you everything is going to be done that they can imagine is going to be done. They don't want to look bad, first. And two, more importantly, they want to protect the American people. But we have to recognize wherever there's so-called soft targets, wherever there's a street festival in a big city, there's a potential for something bad to happen. So I would encourage the American people to be alert, to report things that look kind of like it shouldn't be that way, but to also live your life bravely. The thing that terrorists want to do is they want to terrorize us, which is to say, I'm too afraid to live in freedom. No, you got to be bold and live in freedom, and that's the best way we can counter terrorism.
Senator, the city of New Orleans spent $2.3 billion to harden infrastructure after the FBI warned in 2017 that the French Quarter was vulnerable to a mass casualty event. But the mayor said the steel bollards malfunctioned shortly after they were installed, and they were down for repairs ahead of the Super Bowl. They're being replaced. So when that attack happened, there were police vehicles acting as barricades. Listen.
It indeed have a plan, but the terrorists defeated it.
Well, the very next day, that police superintendent you just heard from admitted there were additional barriers on hand, but she didn't know they existed. 48 Archer barriers designed to stop a 5,500-pound truck going 60 miles an hour. The police superintendent didn't know what resources she had to protect the most vulnerable site in the city. Should she face consequences for that?
Yeah.
If everything as you laid out is as you said it, absolutely. There has to be leadership at the top. And if the leadership failed as you describe it, then absolutely there has to be consequences. Period. End of story. Now, I think we're going to have a kind of complete review of everything from top to bottom. And if that's the way it ends up shaking out completely, she should be replaced.
Yeah, police put out those Archer barriers the day after the attack to reopen Bourbon Street. Meridian Rapid Defense Group, the company that sold them to the city in 2017, said that they're the strongest mobile barriers in the world. But the CEO said, quote, "Not only did they not know they had them, they didn't even know how to describe them. And even now, in the pictures I've seen, the barriers aren't even set up properly because the wheels are still down." What's your reaction to hearing that?
Obviously, we're preparing now for a Super Bowl, and there's going to be a Mardi Gras before then. Very quickly, the city needs to implement everything it needs to do in order to take it to the next level. Now, I will say that our governor, Jeff Landry, has had the state police going down, and there's also a multi-task, multi-parish, multi-regional task force, which is going to provide security. So I feel comfortable that when the Super Bowl comes, it'll be an incredibly secure environment. I went to the Sugar Bowl kind of as an act of defiance.
Should the state police
And I
take
went to
over
the
the
Sugar
French
Bowl,
Quarter?
and you could not believe. I'm sorry. No, I don't think you have to take it over, but I do think that you need to have a plan which is credible, reviewed by outside entities, and they say yes, this is good, and then you do everything you can to make sure that it's implemented correctly with a third party guaranteeing the implementation, and I think that's very doable.
President Biden will be visiting New Orleans tomorrow to meet with the victims' families. What are you asking for in terms of federal support?
Yeah, so first, my gosh, how can we not feel for both the families of those who died, but also those who've been injured and their families? And so in terms of federal support, I think one, I've learned in medicine, as I'm a doctor, in medicine, when something bad happens, the family wants to know that it doesn't happen again, that the loss or the terrible thing that happened at least contributes to a greater good. The best thing that the city, the state, and the federal government can do is do their best to make sure that this does not happen again. And what we can do as a people is to make sure that we don't live our lives in fear or in terror, but live our lives bravely and with liberty. And then support those families however they need support. And by the way, I'm very proud of the medical teams in New Orleans. They're going to be providing first-rate care to all those victims. So we also have to take care of that which is immediate and practical.
Sir, the terror attack in your home state has renewed focus on the need for swift Senate confirmations, but delays, we're hearing, might slow that down. Republican sources told The Hill, quote, "You got to get the ethics paperwork and the FBI background check done, and that's taken longer than it should have. They should know better. This has a lot to do with the way the transition team has set itself to operate." Is this potentially a self-inflicted problem for the Trump administration?
I do know there was delay in getting the documentation signed in terms of allowing the sharing of data. Now, it's always easy to look back 2020 and say, oh my gosh, things should have been different. I can't comment on the exact process, but I will emphasize that to get this done as quickly as possible, getting the right person in the right position clearly is important. And I would say that's not just for domestic issues, but also it's a dangerous world out there, also for the international environment.
Pete Hegseth's confirmation hearing is next week. ABC's reporting that the Senate Armed Services Committee is requesting additional information from a veterans organization that he previously led, and also from the California DA, who declined to bring charges following a 2017 sexual assault accusation. Are you aware of any delays that might bungle his confirmation timeline?
I'm not, but by the way, this is the due diligence. The Senate has in the Constitution an advise and consent process. And the fact that this is being requested isn't in of itself necessarily anything bad. It's something good in the sense that the Senate is supposed to look at the qualifications of the person who's nominated and then consent as if they agree that these are good people. So if the Senate's doing its job, that's a good thing.
You've already met with Hegseth. Are you a yes for him?
You know, I still have to see that process. One, we had a great interview. He presented the issues that that we all know about in the press, and he had a response for them. He was there with his wife. He explained how, went after the war, after he served in the war, his life was messed up, and now it's better. I get that. But I'd also like to review the data, the information which is being requested. That is part of fully vetting someone. But Pete did a great job in his interview with me.
Your committee is going to be overseeing RFK Jr.'s hearing, and there are some reports that Democratic Senators John Fetterman, Bernie Sanders might be giving him a nod of support. How is RFK Jr. faring among Democrats on your committee?
No, I haven't spoken to him about it. I just don't know. I will meet with him this coming week. I look forward to the interview. I agree with him on some things and disagree on others. The food safety, I think the ultra-processed food is a problem. Vaccinations, he's wrong on. And so I just look forward to having a good dialogue with him on that.
Okay. And then yesterday, Speaker Mike Johnson made clear to House Republicans that it's Trump's preference to do one reconciliation package rather than two, to get the 2017 tax cut extension done along with the border piece because of those narrow margins in the House. Are you on board with that approach?
Well, I better be. If the president says he wants it and Mike Johnson says he's going to do it, all spending bills originate out of the House. So I think that they will dictate the action. As regards to strategy, absolutely true. There's very narrow margins. And so we've got to get it right. I suppose after they've looked at the votes they have in the House, they figured that is the best way to get it through. I'm not going to dispute Mike Johnson. I think he's doing a great job.
That is a little bit of a reversal. Usually it's the Senate that dictates what happens in the House.
No, spending bills once more begin in the House. It's whatever chamber is having the greatest problems. And when Mike has a margin after three people leave for the cabinet of one, he's I don't know if there's ever been a House with that strict of a margin. Now, by the way, if we only do one reconciliation bill, those three people who are leaving to go to the cabinet will be replaced, and his margin will be at least a couple more, and not much, but a couple more. So there also may be something very practical in mind there too.
It always comes down to the math. All right. Thank you, Senator Cassidy. Appreciate your time this morning.
Thank you, Jackie.
Well, that horrific attack in New Orleans sparking questions about the Biden administration's homeland security strategy. Democratic Congressman Adam Smith joins us live to discuss if the White House put enough emphasis on terrorism. That's next.
Type 2 diabetes? Discover the Ozempic Trizone. I got the power of 3. I lowered my A1C, CV risk, and lost some weight.
In studies, the majority of people reached an A1C under 7 and maintained it.
I'm under 7.
Ozempic lowers the risk of major cardiovascular events such as stroke, heart attack, or death in adults also with known heart disease.
I'm lowering my risk.
And adults lost up to 14 pounds.
I lost some weight.
Ozempic isn't for type 1 diabetes or children. Don't share needles or pens or reuse needles. Don't take if you or your family had MTC, MEN2, or if allergic to it. Stop taking and get medical help right away if you get a lump or swelling in your neck, severe stomach pain, or any of these allergic reactions. Tell your provider if you plan to have surgery or a procedure, are breastfeeding, pregnant, or plan to be. Serious side effects may include inflammation of pancreas, gallbladder problems, or changes in vision. Call your prescriber if you have any of these symptoms. Taking with a sulfonylurea or insulin may increase low blood sugar risk. Common side effects include nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, stomach pain, constipation. Some side effects lead to dehydration, which may worsen kidney problems. Living with type 2 diabetes?
That's not the power of 3 with Ozempic.
These days, the dollar just doesn't go as far. But at Red Lobster, you go big shrimping, baby. It's shrimp your way. Choose 2 or 3 flavors starting at just $16.99, like garlic shrimp scampi. Get your shrimp on today, only at Red Lobster.
Hunger is here.
And I needed it because my fridge is super empty. It's so easy to just whip together a quick, healthy meal.
Head to hungryroot.com for healthy groceries and simple recipes. Plus, get free veggies for life.
With NFL Network, get 24/7 coverage, off the run, and exclusive live games.
That's a perfect dream.
And with NFL Red Zone,
You come to the right place.
get every touchdown from every game.
Let's go to the Octo Box.
Every Sunday afternoon during the regular season.
He's got it.
Get NFL Network and NFL Red Zone now.
The election's been won. Select stocks are poised to benefit from President Trump's policies, and savvy investors are set to cash in. My new book, Unbreakable Investor, will teach you how I'm already finding winning trades like these. Text me right now, and I'll send you a free copy.
Text the word SAVE to 505-505 to claim your free copy of Charles Payne's new book, Unbreakable Investor. Text SAVE to 505-505 and claim your free
I'm
copy.
gonna go
while
smoke a
supplies
cigarette as
last.
soon as it's done
Text
eating.
SAVE to 505-505 now.
Lehigh Valley Press has been delivering essential local news since 1959. With 8 Lehigh Valley editions, we are serious about covering local news. From our award-winning journalism on town meetings, local businesses, and community events, to complete sports coverage and front row seats to the arts and entertainment scene. Because local news is essential to our daily lives, we deliver it online to racks, stores, and to your doorstep. Essential local news. Lehigh Valley Press and LVPnews.com. Subscribe today.
Oh, I want to go corn.
Domestic terrorism from white supremacists is the most lethal terrorist threat in the homeland. The most dangerous terrorist threat to our homeland is white supremacy.
President Biden's longtime claims under new scrutiny in the wake of that horrific New Orleans attack. As critics argue, the president has downplayed the ISIS threat and put an outsized focus on white supremacy concerns. Joining me now, Washington Congressman Adam Smith. Thank you very much, Congressman, for being here this morning.
Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate the chance.
Thank you. So, sir, throughout his presidency, Biden believed that white supremacy was the greatest threat to the homeland. But 2 months before those last remarks that you just heard, the U.S. intelligence community released its annual threat assessment report. It painted a much different picture. The document mentions Russia 98 times, China 93 times, Iran 46 times, North Korea 25 times. There were 15 mentions of racially motivated violent extremism, but white supremacy was mentioned only once. Did President Biden have his priorities wrong?
No, I mean, that was President Biden's intelligence community that issued that report. Whatever couple of clips you may have picked of what the president said, I think the emphasis of his Justice Department, of his intelligence community, of his Homeland Security Department was always on precisely what that report you just read said it was. It understood the broad threat environment that we face and did its best to try to confront that threat environment.
Well, the FBI told Congress that the suspect in the New Orleans attack, Shamsuddin Jabbar, was not on their radar. They didn't have any intelligence on him. He was not someone that they were watching. Do you believe at all that the president's belief that white supremacy is the greatest threat to the homeland impacted directives that were sent down to federal agencies?
I don't. I mean, look, this was an individual, okay, who had no links, no public links to ISIS. He was radicalized just in the space of the last 9 months, primarily by stuff that had happened in his
9 months is a long time.
Right, so, but he wasn't publishing, he didn't join a group. Look, I don't believe this at all. Look, there was a terrorist attack when Trump was president by a radicalized Islamic terrorist in Florida at a military base. Okay, do I believe that Trump wasn't paying attention? No. What I hope this makes clear to the incoming Trump administration is the depth of the threats that we face from a variety of different radical organizations. Again, all outlined in that report that you read from Biden's intelligence services, saying we got threats from a whole bunch of different places, and also the lone wolf attack.
I'm on season 4. Find out.
This is CBS on Paramount Plus.
This is the 7th day of triple-digit temperatures.
In Las Vegas, the temperature is already 100.
Just hook yourself up to the tap and keep drinking all day long. Anything
Took an egg on that sidewalk.
Putting a record number of heat stroke victims.
7th straight day of the heat wave. No relief in sight.
Registration's not here. It's a shopping plaza. Well, it can't be too far.
When are parents going to learn a car is not a babysitter?
108 degrees outside. You want to document the inside temperature?
162.
How many of these do we have this year?
I lost count after 10.
This one makes 12.
Wait, hey! What the hell's going on? Hey, that's my car. What are they doing? Somebody breaking into my car?
Detective Brass, Las Vegas Police. Sir, do you have a son?
Oh God, Joshua!
145 degrees inside the car.
There is a heat advisory.
All the young ones, all the old ones, stay inside.
Make sure you wear a hat and drink plenty of liquids because
It's not babies in cars, it's babies in swimming pools. That time of year.
Body's fully rigid. Normally, I'd say infant's been dead a couple of hours. But in this weather, it's possible the infant died no more than an hour ago. I'm all for your cat.